Hi everybody, it's Tuesday morning's devotional. I hope you're in for a fantastic day. Can I take you back to the book of 1 Samuel? We're now in the chapter 4. Last time we spoke about chapter 3 was the great conversation that God had with Samuel, because Samuel learned what it meant to listen to God, and that's always a good thing to do. But in chapter 4 we see a completely new scenario beginning to develop over here. We see how the Philistines and the Israelites, who were continually at war with one another, had a fight. And the Israelites got beaten by the Philistines, and they came home licking their wounds, and they said, "What went wrong here? Where is God? Why have we been so badly defeated by this perennial enemy that we don't seem to be able to get rid of?" Well, some bright spark came up with the idea that maybe it's because we don't have the Ark of the Covenant amongst us. And the Ark of the Covenant was a picture of the presence of God, the picture of the blessing of God upon the people. So they sent off to Shiloh and they brought back the Ark of the Covenant. And when the Ark of the Covenant came into the camp, the people began to scream with jubilation. The whole earth shook. And the Philistines, even though they had won the first victory, they too were in fear and trepidation. And they said, "Man, there is a God in Israel." Anyway, then some Philistine guy stood up and said, "Well, let's not be fearful. Let's go off and fight them again." And the Israelites went into the battle far more confident this time that they had the ark, they had the blessing of God, and they were confident that the presence of God would go with them. But against all prevailing wisdom from both sides, the Israelites lost again. And we see here an incredible dilemma where they did the right thing. They went and they searched their hearts. They realized that there's no substitute for the presence of God. But something went wrong. Now, when I read the story, I read about Hophni and Phinehas. These were the sons of Eli. These were the ones who were the wicked ones that had been prophesied that they would be killed. And indeed, they were killed in the second battle. But I look at this and I think, you look at the Ark of the Covenant, you think, can anything be better than that? Can anything be better than the presence of God? And yet the presence of God should never be taken for granted. The presence of God should never be administered with unholy hands as it was with Hophni and Phinehas, because God is quite fanatical about who handles his glory. And the glory of the presence of God in the Ark of the Covenant was God's glory here on earth at that particular time. But Hophni and Phinehas were holding it. They were the ones who brought it back. And I just wonder if that's not the reason that God said, you don't put the holy into the hands of the unholy. Because in the Old Testament, if the holy touched the holy just messed up the holiness. In the New Testament, it's the opposite. When the holy touches the unholy becomes holy. But in the Old Testament, it was the opposite. It was that when the unholy touches the holy, then the holy becomes unholy. And with Hophni and Phinehas holding on to the beauty of the presence of God, I just wonder if that wasn't the problem. We need to handle God's truth. We need to hold on to his presence with fear and trepidation. We talk much about God's love, and that's wonderful, the grace and the mercy. I take nothing from it. But we also read, work out your salvation with fear and trembling. Never take for granted that because God did it before, he will do it again. That may or that may not be true. When we look at the wonder of this book, the Bible, and we see the wonder of what God has given us, people, don't mess this up with unholy hands. Don't go into this book with unholy thoughts or thinking that you can capture the glory of God in a different kind of a way. Let's hold to God's holiness. Let's hold on to him, because that's who he is. And as we've said before, and we'll probably say many times again, do not mess with a holy God, because that's who he is. So let's learn from that today. But go and have a fantastic day, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.